Hey everyone, welcome back. Get ready to dive into the world of Shakespeare's Macbeth.
Ooh, Macbeth.
You guys sent us a ton of sources, articles, excerpts, even a YouTube transcript. And it seems like you're all really fascinated by the play's most famous quotes.
And some of the trickier vocabulary.
Yeah, that old English can be a real brain twister sometimes. But that's why we're here.
That's right.
To break it all down.
To make it clear.
So grab your daggers and cauldrons, folks.
Yeah.
We're going deep.
You know, what's fascinating to me is the enduring power of these quotes. I mean, centuries later, they still resonate. They still shock.
Yeah.
And they offer a glimpse into the dark heart of ambition and, well, the human condition.
It's true. It's like Shakespeare had this uncanny ability to tap into something universal.
Absolutely.
Something timeless.
Yeah.
So to make sure we cover it all, we're going to journey through the play act by act.
Sounds good.
Exploring those unforgettable lines.
The context.
Oh, yeah. We can't forget the content.
What makes them so enduring?
And, of course, we'll translate some of that old English.
Right.
You know, make it all crystal clear for our 21st century ears.
Think of us as your Shakespearean navigators.
Love that. Okay. Let's set the stage with Act 1. You know those three mysterious witches with their cryptic pronouncements?
Yeah.
Fair is foul and foul is fair.
Mm.
Talk about an opening line. What do you think about that one?
Oh, it's pure genius, really. Immediately, Shakespeare plunges us into this world where, nothing is as it seems.
Right.
Which, sets the tone for the entire play, I think.
It's like he's saying, hey, audience, buckle up because you're in for a wild ride.
Yeah, exactly.
Where the lines between good and evil are constantly blurred.
Yeah, you said it.
Yeah.
And it makes you question everything. I see
Right.
and hear, if fair is foul, then, well, who can you trust?
It's true. What appears to be good might actually be bad.
Oh, absolutely. And vice versa.
And this theme of deception, of appearances being deceiving, it really becomes central to Macbeth's journey.
Oh, yeah. It's like a thread that runs through the whole play.
Speaking of Macbeth's journey, we quickly learn that he's been valiant in battle,
Mm-hmm.
which leads King Duncan to say, what he hath lost, noble Macbeth hath won. But knowing how the play unfolds, kind of hard not to hear that line with a sense of foreboding.
Oh, totally. It's one of those moments where the audience is in on the secret, dramatic irony at its finest.
Yeah.
We understand the true weight of Macbeth's win.
It's like we're watching a car crash in slow motion.
Yeah. We know it's not going to end well.
And the title of Thane of Cawdor, because she's just won, is like the first step on this slippery slope to his doom.
It's not the title itself that's bad, but the ambition it awakens within him.
Right. And then there's that chilling moment when Lady Macbeth receives her husband's letter detailing the witch's prophecy.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Glamis thou art, and Cawdor and shalt be.
Chills, literal chills. You can practically see her ambition taking root, like a seed being planted in dark soil.
I love her reaction to that letter. It's like she's not afraid of the darkness.
No, she embraces it.
In fact, she's more worried that her husband is too kind. Milk of human kindness, anyone.
Oh, absolutely. Lady Macbeth, she's a force of nature.
Yeah.
Ruthless ambition, and we find it both repulsive and fascinating.
So true. And she's willing to do whatever it takes to see her husband on that throne.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it means pushing him down this dark path of murder and tyranny.
Oh, for sure. Her influence on Macbeth is undeniable.
But we also see Macbeth's own internal struggle, as he contemplates killing Duncan. And he famously grapples with the consequences in that soliloquy. If it were done when 'tis done, then 'twere well. It were done quickly.
That line, it's like a window into his soul, He's torn between his ambition and his conscience.
Weighing the rewards against the moral cost.
The way Shakespeare uses language to convey that inner turmoil is just, well, it's masterful.
It really is. And speaking of language, there are a few words from that first act that might leave modern audiences scratching their heads. Like, for instance, thane. It just sounds so, old. Can you break that down for us?
Sure. A thane is simply a Scottish lord or nobleman. So like a duke or an earl in the English system.
So when they talk about the Thane of Cawdor, we're basically talking about someone with, a lot of power and influence.
Exactly. It's a title signifying responsibility, ambition, both of which become central to the play's themes.
Great. Now that we've laid the groundwork, let's plunge into the darkness of Act 2, where things take a decidedly sinister turn.
Yeah, Act 2 is really where we start to see those consequences of ambition, really taking hold.
It's like a downward spiral.
Yeah, it is a descent into darkness, both literally and figuratively.
Yeah, it really is. It's like, have you ever watched one of those, car crash compilations?
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like, it's going to be bad, but you just can't look away.
Yeah. You're like, no, don't.
That's Act 2.
Exactly. And one of the most powerful moments, I think, is right after the murder of Duncan. When Macbeth cries out, "Sleep no more," Macbeth does murder sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Those words are so raw, full of guilt and terror. It's really,
It's not just the act of murder itself that's haunting him, right? It's like the realization that he's sacrificed something essential.
Yeah.
Like his peace of mind, his very humanity in this pursuit of power.
You're hitting on something really important there. Sleep in this context becomes a metaphor for innocence, for a clear conscience.
Yeah.
And Macbeth knows he's crossed a line.
He can't go back.
He can't go back.
It's like he's cursed himself.
Yeah. And that curse manifests physically, He can't sleep. He's haunted by visions.
Yeah.
He can't escape the consequences of his actions.
Yeah, and then there's that, image of blood, the stain of his crime. Will all great Neptune's ocean wash this blood clean from my hand?
Yeah.
But we know it's a rhetorical question.
It is.
He already knows the answer.
Yeah, he does. He knows he can't wash away the guilt.
It's a stain on his soul.
It is. And that blood imagery is so potent throughout the play, It represents not just the physical act of murder, but also this moral corruption. Like a disease, it just spreads.
Speaking of spreading, Macbeth's paranoia and suspicion just grow from there. It will have blood, they say. Blood will have blood, he says. Almost as if he's just accepting this grim fate,
That's a really interesting line. What do you think? Do you think he's acknowledging a cycle of violence? Or is he trying to justify his own actions?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's a little bit of both.
Right.
Like he's trapped in this spiral of his own making. But at the same time, he's trying to convince himself that it was inevitable, that he's not really in control.
Yeah.
Like a way of shifting blame,
It is.
Not taking responsibility for his choices.
And, it just speaks to the dangerous rationalizations that we can all make, When ambition takes over.
It's true.
It really is.
It's also a reminder that violence begets violence.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to break free from that cycle.
It is.
But before we get too bogged down in the darkness here,
Right.
let's jump ahead to Act 4.
Okay.
One of the most visually striking scenes.
Oh, yeah.
The witch's cauldron.
Oh, yeah.
Double toil and trouble.
Fire burn and cauldron bubble.
Yeah. Those lines are just iconic.
Oh, yeah. They're burned in our collective memory.
It's like a recipe for disaster,
Yeah.
All those bizarre ingredients, the chanting, the bubbling cauldron.
Yeah.
It's both fascinating and terrifying.
Yeah, it really is. And it reminds us that there are these forces at work beyond our comprehension,
Yeah.
The witches, they represent fate, chaos, this unpredictable nature of life.
And the repetition of double, I think, really emphasizes the growing chaos in Macbeth's world,
Yeah.
His ambition has doubled. His paranoia has doubled. The stakes have doubled.
He's losing control of the very forces he thought he could command.
Speaking of losing control, Act 5 sees both Macbeth and Lady Macbeth crumble under the weight of their actions.
Oh, yeah. Lady Macbeth's descent into madness is especially heartbreaking, I think.
Yeah.
Haunted by guilt. Out, damn spot. Out, I say. Just trying to cleanse her conscience.
That line is so visceral. It's like you can just feel her desperation, her inability to escape that, psychological torment. And it kind of makes you think, have you ever felt the weight of guilt so heavily that it impacted your actions? I mean, maybe not to the extent of Lady Macbeth, but...
Yeah, it's a universal experience, isn't it? That feeling of remorse. Wishing you could just undo something, And Shakespeare's portrayal of Lady Macbeth's breakdown, I think, shows just how deeply guilt can wound us.
It's true.
Even if we try to bury it.
And I think it's also interesting to contrast Lady Macbeth's breakdown with Macbeth's trajectory in Act 5.
Yeah.
He becomes so tyrannical and detached.
Yeah.
Almost numb to the consequences of his actions.
Yeah, he really does. And that final soliloquy, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the most nihilistic and despairing speeches in all of literature.
Yeah, it really is.
He just sees life as a pointless procession of empty days, just devoid of meaning or purpose.
It's a far cry from that, that ambitious, driven man we saw at the beginning of the play.
He is. The pursuit of power has just left him completely hollowed out.
It's a cautionary tale.
It is.
It reminds us that even if we achieve all of our wildest ambitions, the cost might be our very souls.
And speaking of language, there are a few more words from these later acts that might trip up, modern readers. Like, for example, Macbeth refers to his present fears.
Right.
What did he mean by that?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Because it doesn't actually mean fears about the present. It refers to feels that are immediate, tangible, as opposed to anxieties about the future.
Oh, so don't worry about what might happen tomorrow. Just focus on the danger right in front of you.
Exactly. It's about staying present, even in the midst of, chaos, which ironically is something Macbeth himself fails to do.
That's right.
Constantly consumed by either the past or the future, never able to find peace in the moment.
And then there's that strange line where Ross describes the invading army as the powers above put on their instruments. What on earth does that even mean?
Oh, it's a metaphor, of course. Shakespeare's saying that the forces opposing Macbeth are being guided by a higher power, maybe fate, perhaps divine justice. It's as if the heavens themselves are orchestrating his downfall. That's
like those old sayings, you reap what you sow, or what goes around comes around. Macbeth's actions have set in motion these events that he can no longer control.
And it speaks to the idea that even the most powerful individuals, they're ultimately accountable for their choices.
Before we wrap up our deep dive, I think we should touch on one last bit of tricky vocabulary. Macbeth talks about the Hyrcan tiger at one point.
Oh, right.
What's that all about?
Well, Hyrcania was this ancient region near the Caspian Sea. It was known for its fierce tigers.
Ah, so Shakespeare's using it as like a symbol of untamed power.
Exactly. Untamed power and ferocity. It's like saying Siberian tiger today. You immediately think of strength and danger.
Yeah. And it's a fitting comparison for Macbeth himself, don't you think?
Yeah.
At least in the early part of the play. He's driven by this raw, animalistic ambition.
Yeah.
But as we've seen, that ambition ultimately consumes him.
It does. It's a reminder that power, just like a wild beast, can be both exhilarating and, dangerous.
Yeah.
It requires careful handling, deep understanding of its potential consequences.
It really is amazing, how a play written over 400 years ago can still feel so relevant today.
I know.
Right.
It's crazy. It's a testament to Shakespeare, like his understanding of, human nature, his timeless desires and struggles that they transcend any particular era,
It's true. And the language, while it can be, challenging at times, I think it adds to the richness of the whole experience.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Each word, each phrase, it's so carefully chosen, to convey these layers of meaning and emotion.
Speaking of layers, one of the things that I find so fascinating about Macbeth is how it explores the idea of fate versus free will.
Oh, yeah.
Are the characters just pawns in this predetermined game? Or do they actually have the power to shape their own destinies?
That's a question that's puzzled scholars and audiences for centuries.
Right. Like on one hand, you have the witches' prophecies. They seem to, lay out a clear path for Macbeth.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, he makes choices, good and bad, that ultimately lead to his downfall.
Right.
So where do you land on that?
Oh, that's where things get really interesting. It's not just, a simple case of destiny playing out. It's this interplay, between fate and free will. Like, the prophecies might plant a seed,
right,
but it's Macbeth's choice how he responds.
Yeah. He could have ignored the witches, chosen a different path, focused on being, a good and just king. But he doesn't. He lets his ambition take over.
He does.
And ultimately, that sets him on a course towards self-destruction.
Yeah, the prophecies become self-fulfilling,
Yeah.
He believes them so strongly that he acts in ways that make them come true.
It's true. It's a cautionary tale about, letting our desires control us.
Yeah.
If we're not careful, we become slaves to our ambition. We end up creating the very outcomes that we fear the most.
Yeah. And that's a message that, I think resonates just as strongly today as it did in Shakespeare's time.
Oh, totally.
We're constantly bombarded with these messages about success, achievement, the pursuit of power. Yeah. And Macbeth is just this reminder to be mindful.
I'm mindful.
Of the choices,
The choices.
That we make along the way.
The choices. It's not just about reaching the top.
No.
It's about how we get there and what we're willing to sacrifice. But before we wrap up our deep dive into Macbeth, I think we should touch on that final showdown.
Oh, yeah, between
Macbeth and Macduff.
Oh, yes. The ultimate confrontation.
Remember that prophecy about no man of woman born being able to harm Macbeth. It gave him this false sense of security, the belief that he was invincible.
He thought he had fate on his side.
He did. But then we learn that Macduff was, from his mother's womb, untimely ripped, meaning he wasn't technically born in the traditional sense.
Classic Shakespeare. Right.
It's like, who would have seen that coming?
I know.
And it completely unravels Macbeth's confidence.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he's facing this opponent who, doesn't fit into the prophecy.
Right.
He has to confront the possibility that he's been wrong all along.
It's a reminder that even the most carefully laid plans can go awry.
They can.
And that blind faith in prophecy or destiny, it can be dangerous.
It can. It's about recognizing that life is full of surprises.
Yes.
And that sometimes the things that we think will protect us actually end up being our downfall.
Exactly.
So, what does it all mean? What are the big takeaways from our deep dive into Macbeth's world?
Yeah.
Of ambition, murder, and, supernatural intrigue?
Well, for me, it's a reminder that appearances can be deceiving. Fair is foul, and foul can be fair. We need to look beyond the surface, question those motivations, just be more discerning in our own lives.
It's a powerful exploration of the human psyche.
Oh, yeah.
The way ambition corrupts even, the best intentions.
It does.
The consequences of guilt and remorse.
Yeah, it's ultimately a story about choice, I think. We may not be able to control the hand we're dealt, but we always have the power to decide how we'll play our cards.
That's a great way to put it. So next time you're faced with a tough decision, remember Macbeth. Think about those consequences.
Yeah.
And choose wisely.
Yes.
And that, my friends, brings our deep dive to a close.
It does.
Thanks for joining us on this journey. We'll leave you with one final thought. If Macbeth teaches us that fair is foul, how can we be more discerning in our own lives? How can we avoid being, deceived by appearances?
Yeah. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.
And until next time, remember, sleep no more.
Those themes, that language.
Yeah.
Macbeth will stay with you long after the curtain falls.
Thank you for listening to this podcast to the very end. Below, in the description section, you'll find a short list with the 12 most popular quotes from the book, and some examples of vocabulary that appears in the book and has now fallen into disuse. Feel free to include more examples of quotes and vocabulary that appear in Macbeth and that you find memorable in the comments.